So we were talking about the reduced incidence matrix. I showed you the matrix for a incidence matrix where your rows are said to be all your vertices and your columns are said to be all your edges. When I remove any one of the vertex, see here I have removed the vertex V4, I get a new incidence matrix where the vertex V4 is not there. So in such a case, the second matrix can be called as a reduced incidence matrix. Now, if we say n is the number of rows and e is the number of columns, the order of the incidence matrix is given by n into e. But in the case of your reduced incidence matrix, where the number of vertices has been reduced by 1, the order changes as n minus 1 into e. That is what I have shown here. The vertex corresponding to the deleted row is said to be called as the reference vertex. So the vertex that I have deleted, the vertex that I have deleted from my incidence matrix, that particular vertex is said to be called as the reference vertex. It is said to be called as the reference vertex. And we can say that any vertex can be made reference vertex. It is not required that it has to be the last vertex. You can remove any one vertex. Any one of the vertices can be made as a reference vertex. So when we take any of the rows, n minus rows, they'll all contain the same information as your n rows. And we can also reconstruct the deleted row from the remaining rows, as each column can contain exactly 2 ones. We had studied last time that when we have an incidence, you can see that, this particular point I can prove it with the next example here. So it says that, I'll just say it, we can easily construct the deleted row. We can construct the deleted row from the remaining rows, as each column can contain exactly 2 ones. Now what does it mean? Now if I look into this particular example, in this particular example, if you consider each column, it consists of 2 ones, isn't it? It's said to consist of 2 ones. It is consisting of 2 ones. Now imagine if I delete one of the vertex. If I'm going to delete one of the vertex, you can choose any one vertex. Say if I am going to delete V2. I'm going to delete V2. This particular row is said to be deleted. So that is said to be called as, V2 can be called as a reference vertex. V2 can be called as a reference vertex. I have removed it. So what do I get my resultant matrix as? I'll get it as V1, V3, V4, V5 and V6, and this is said to be called as the reduced incidence matrix, which will have the same edges E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7 and E8. So I'll write it as 0, 0, 0. I'm copying the same values here. 2 zeros, then again all zeros followed by 1, then I have 1, then I have 0, 0, 1, then I have 1, 1, 0. So 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, then I have 0, 0. What about my V5? It is 0, 1 here. And then I have 2 zeros followed by 1 and then a 0, and these are all zeros. So this is my resultant reduced incidence matrix that I've got. Now they say that even if I have removed a vertex, how can I reconstruct that graph? How can I reconstruct the graph? So looking here, you can say that, edge E1, it has got 2 endpoints. Edge E2 has got 2 endpoints. Edge E3 has got 2 endpoints. Edge E4 has got 2 endpoints. But edge E5 has got only 1 endpoint. It has got only 1 endpoint. What about edge E6? It has got only 1 endpoint. E7 also has got only 1 endpoint, isn't it? And E8 has also got only 1 endpoint. That means if I add the vertex, which is called as my reference vertex, I can simply reconstruct it, because E5, E6, E7, E8, they have only 1 endpoint. So correspondingly, the other endpoint has to be in the vertex that I have deleted. Obviously, what will happen if I see that VF is my reference vertex? The other endpoint will be in my VF, because only E5 and E6, E7, E8 in my reduced incidence matrix, they had only a single one in their column, isn't it? So obviously the other end has to be in my VF. The other places I can put simply zeros. So that is what we say, that even if you delete a single vertex from your incidence vertex, and the resulting matrix is said to be called as the reduced incidence matrix, we can still go back. We can still go back and construct our incidence matrix because of the following property. What is the property? That when you check a particular column, it has to have two ones. It has to have two ones. That means that edge is said to be connecting two vertices. Edge is said to be connecting two vertices. Now, when I checked my E5, E6, E7, E8, I found that there was only one edge. There was only one, I mean, there was, the edge was only connecting one particular vertex. It was not connecting the other. Okay. So I hope you have understood what reduced incidence matrix is. Now, once that is done, now let us go into circuit matrix. Next, we have something called as circuit matrix. From that terminology itself, we can understand that is it is consisting of all circuits. Okay, it consists of all circuits. So we say that let G, capital G, be a graph which consists of the normal definition. It consists of n vertices and consists of e edges. And also it consists of how many circuits? It consists of B circuits. It is said to consist of B circuits. Then the circuit matrix, it can be denoted by what? It can be represented as B of G. Okay, it is represented as B of G. Is called as B by E matrix. Children, it is of the order B by E, where E is the number of edges. E is the number of edges. And B is what? It is said to be the number of circuits. B is said to be the number of circuits. Where the rows, that is, this is a row and this is a column. So the rows are corresponding to B circuits and the columns are said to be your E edges. Now I say each element in my matrix, when I have B of G, so each element that I have, I can call it a small b of ij, or that is 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, like that, etc. I can call it. So each element can have a value 1 or it can have a value 0. So each element in my graph B of G can have a value 1 or it can have a value 0. Why is it so? If my jth edge is included in my ith circuit, okay, so I'll be having this particular graph. I said you have the B circuits, B1, B2, B3, B4. Okay, and then you will have edges E1, E2, E3, E4, E5. I hope you remember the concept of circuit, isn't it? If you have the vertex A, you have the vertex B, okay, and it is like this. Okay, so how many circuits are there? This can be called as a circuit, that is from A you're going back to A, and this can be called as another circuit that is said to be called as 2. So here I say this is edge E1, this is edge E2, and this is said to be edge E3. That means in A, I have this particular edge which is going and inciding back on E. So this is one circuit. So I can say this is one circuit B1. I can say the B2 circuit. The B2 circuit is which one? It consists of the edges E2 and E3. Okay, that means E2 and E3 are the components of my circuit B2. Okay, that is what it means. So only for E2 and E3, I'll be putting the value as 1. The remaining edges, I'll put the value as 0. If I have E1, E2, E3, for E1, I'll put it as 0 because it is not a part of my circuit. Okay, so I hope you have understood. We'll do an example. You will understand in a better way. Okay, so I just said about a circuit matrix which is represented by B of G. And what is the order of it? It is said to be B by E, where B stands for the number of circuits and E stands for the number of edges. Okay, so your rows are consisting of, the rows consist of what? The rows consist of the circuits and your columns are said to consist of your edges. And each element is said to have a value 1 or 0. Each element will have a value 1 or 0. If that edge is a part of that particular circuit, then you have a value 1. If that edge is not a part of B1, then you have the value as 0. The other name for your circuit matrix is binary matrix. It is also known as binary matrix. Why do you call it as a binary matrix? Because it consists of ones and zeros. Okay. Next, given a circuit matrix B of G, okay, we can construct the corresponding graph partially. This is very, very important. Okay, so when you are being given a circuit matrix, that is, you have been given this matrix B of G, which is said to consist of your B1, B2 goes on till Bn, and it also consists of your edges E1, E2 goes on till En. Okay. So given this particular matrix, you can draw the corresponding graph. Okay, you can draw the corresponding graph. Okay, you can draw the corresponding graph. Okay, partially. You will be only able to draw it partially. As we do not get exact information about the edges, that is not a part of any circuit. Very, very important. Okay. So what does it say? We can, given this particular matrix, that is a circuit matrix, you will be able to draw the graph, but you won't be able to draw the complete graph. There will be certain edges which will not be included. Which are the edges which are not included? Say, imagine I have this particular edge, isn't it? So is it forming a circuit? It is not forming a circuit, isn't it? So this information of this particular vertex is said to be lost. Okay, so I cannot draw about this particular edge and this vertex because that information is not there in my circuit matrix at all. That is why we say that if you have a pendant edge, that is an edge which is connecting a pendant vertex, so that particular information will not be there. Okay, we can only know them. We can know that such a edge is existing, but we will not be able to draw any conclusion from it. We won't be knowing that our edge ആരെയാണ് കണക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ഏത് വേർട്ടെക്സിനെയാണ് കണക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ആ ഒരു ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ നമുക്ക് ഇല്ല. We will see an example and you will understand in a better way. So keep this thing in your mind. If given a circuit matrix, you cannot draw your graph completely because there are certain vertices which are said to be pendant vertices. You won't be able to connect them. Okay. Now other things that we have to remember. This helps us to your B of G. To draw your B of G, these 3 points are quite helpful. If the circuit contains one edge, that means the row will have a single one. It implies that you have a self loop. Now when you see this particular row, okay, if you have a single one, it means that you have a circuit, that means you have a circuit in which you have the edge E2. Okay, that is forming a self loop. Now if in a row you have two ones, that what does it mean? That is, that circuit is said to consist of two vertices. Okay, and it is connected by the two edges E1 and E2. That means what type of edges they can be called as? It can be called as a parallel edges. That is, if the circuit contains two edges, that is a row with two ones, it implies parallel edges. It is going to imply parallel edges. Now if it consists of three edges, that is, if you have three edges, for example, you have say B3, okay, it is E1, E2 and E3. Okay, let this be E3. So you will be having a circuit in such a form, where you will have like this E1, E2 and E3. This is a circuit, isn't it? It is a circuit which consists of the edges E1, E2 and E3. And so what kind of a structure is it forming? It is forming a triangular circuit. It is said to be forming a triangular circuit. That means if your row has three ones, that circuit is said to be of what shape? It is said to be called as a triangular circuit. And if your circuit is said to be having two ones, that means you have parallel edges. And if your circuit is said to consist of a single one, that means you have a single loop. Okay. We'll go into the properties of the circuit matrix. Or we'll do an example first and then we'll go into the properties. It will be more easier for you. Okay, so we'll take an example. So I'll have to draw a graph. I'll call this as V1. I'll call this as V2. Then I have, say, V3. I have V4. And I have V5. Okay. There is a self loop here and I can call this as G. Then I have an edge which is said to be called as A. I have another edge which is said to be called as B. I have another edge C. I have H. I have D. I have E. I have F. Okay, so I think I've completed. I've taken a small example. Now, if I need to draw the circuit graph for this, how will I draw? It's not the circuit graph. This is my graph G. And I need to draw